for the record, a moment of like behind the scenes, backstage, to the extent that we can have that nowadays in our pandemic lockdown pre-dystopian society that we live in. I get the paranoid, stage fright, delusions of failure, and or questioning, etc., in the moments whenever I begin to prepare to do a podcast episode. And some days I just brute force it and like don't think about it, and just like some days I dilly-dally and I end up not even podcasting at all after trying, after sort of starting to set it up, and then no, I don't have a clue what I'll say. Some days I'll walk up to that diving board platform and just jump off, and it's a miserable experience, and I regret the entire time, and I don't remember what I said. And then other times I jump off that diving board platform and I don't remember quite what I said, but I know that I felt good about it, felt real about it, felt true about it, felt like, however crazy it maybe sounded, someone out there either needed to hear it, wanted to hear it, and maybe it needed to be said, and that I'm not being distracted by lizard people or nanobots or Satan or etc. And it is, in my humble opinion, a kind of blind leap of faith that we take every day when we live our life, and we cling to whatever model we have consciously, semi-unconsciously, or totally unconsciously created for ourselves about what is going on in reality. And what I have found is that when I give into my process, which I've tried to develop with honesty and what's the right word? With my best understanding of whatever amounts of information I've gathered about practice as shorthand for spiritual exercises and routines and or whatever you want to call it. And I know that one of those things about human nature is that we all make hypocrites of ourselves, right? And we can point fingers and pluck at the splinter in each other's eye and never remove the beam from the middle of our forehead, or I butchered that analogy, but you get what I'm saying. And as a moment of honest self-examination in terms of this particular context and how I cope with it in the moment, as a means to hopefully be helpful to others who may actually be curious enough and or willing enough in their own context, for their own reasons, to take this crazy person's advice about meditation, spiritual practice, spiritual anything, knowing that the first step is like abandon all labels and realize that the labels are just signs and are not the things to give a shit about in terms of what to debate about and argue about, etc., but rather what connection you really truly thrivingly connect with to spirituality, to whatever that is. I meant to say through spirituality, whatever that is, to that higher power, whatever that is. At any rate, that was a meditation track that I was in the middle of in earnest. And tragically, it doesn't show me the name at this point. And it would be beautiful to have the name and artist right here. Like, what the fuck did I just meditate to? So, Insight Timer, if you're listening, feature suggestion. If I had the time and the interest and or the staff, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, somebody fund this shit so I can have staff, so we can have a production company. And that's more like an ask than an invitation to whatever ears out there that might be capable of funding things. I highly doubt that anybody listening right this hot second today, Sunday, July 12th at 6:06 a.m. Oh, darn it, I just missed it, 6:07. Is going to be able to go, hold on a second, let me call some people. But if there is, why not put it out there? It's a behind the scenes thing anyways. I'm not even live right now, I don't think. But so Insight Timer, yeah, if you're listening, this is me passively aggressively saying, forgive me for not actually writing for permission, but this is me asking for permission live on the air, on tape. I want you to be one of my sponsors and let me meditate on the air with people and have a meditation class on my podcast that then goes on your platform, or both, or different, or whatever. But I need money to hire people to make my vision come true. Also, I love your app. Honest, genuine, no one's paying me to say that endorsement. Not that anyone's listening to this, but should I ever put this on the air? And also, the only way that I'm currently, for full disclosure, the only way that I'm currently trying to monetize my show is through the in-house monetization protocol on Sprecher.com, the awesome and delightful platform that I create this podcast with and then distribute to wherever it is you found it, dear listener. And that is an honest, personal endorsement. No one paid me to do that. I hope that's not in violation of my EULA. If someone tries to interpret that as a violation of my EULA, I apologize, and I don't give that much of a fuck. And if you send me a cease and desist letter, I will politely never do that again and try to go back and edit this out. But my point is that we shouldn't be so litigious. B, that's point B. Point A is that I should be able to speak admiringly of the platform through which I create this podcast, I think, without getting sued by anybody. So here's to flapping in the wind and saying to whoever might be listening that is a fan of the show, Sprecher.com, if you've been itching to make your own podcast and you're in the position, mind you, there is a free option, but you got to be able to hit record and say what you got to say and play whatever sound effects and music and stuff you got to play in exactly a tight 15 minutes. To do a podcast fully free. And hey, if I didn't have the discipline, I tried the free, and I don't remember how much of those are still up or if I lost them all. There are some quote unquote lost files because I've recorded more episodes than are currently up, I think, and or I've replaced them with stuff and may or may not have misplaced some of the original recordings. And I used to, here's a fun fact since we're behind the scenes. This is totally meaningless to anybody listening. And I wanted to take a moment. Hold on seconds. So I can't be accused of bypassing. I recognized and respectfully, with spiritual gratitude, pardon the use of language, honor the fact that I'm in a privileged enough position that I can still currently, I don't know for how much longer, no guarantees, folks, but I still currently can, do what I'm doing. No matter where you are, one spiritual truth that I found to be really true, no matter how jaded you might feel about it right now or at some point in your life, but praying for gratitude for that which you actually have, whatever your situation is, down and out on the worst, in the worst you've ever experienced in your life, or the best, or somewhere in the middle. Remember, it is partially all relative and about perception to begin with, so sort that out. But even when it sucks, taking a moment to just acknowledge, I'm still alive, I still have whatever meager blessings I have, and no one's got a gun to my head. And if you're in that current position while listening to this show, wow, I apologize to you, and the world is more fucked up than I might realize. But I don't think that that's likely, right? I hope and pray that no one's ever forced to listen to my show at gunpoint. That'd be hideous and wrong and horrible. Although I might write that into a book now that I've said that out loud. So pin that to the things that need to be rediscovered in my audio archivist moment of duty and tour of duty when I finally embark on that. And turn it into a short story and make it fiction so that it doesn't happen. Right. So I have found that, well, obviously, what was I going to say? The weird behind the scenes thing that's funny. When I very first launched the show, I don't remember how many different segments or different shows I originally created, but I had more than 3. I think I'd made as many as 4 different shows. Because I had Good Morning Trumptopia and the Zencast and news-breaking news and unauthorized and explicit readings as separate show products on the Sprecher.com website / distribution system. And a dear friend whom I won't name, but if they ever wind up fucking listening to this, I send you much love and peace, love, and grieviness, and forgiveness, and all that goodness. Made the well-intentioned recommendation that I streamline it all and put it all on one show. And while my initial reaction was like, whoa, that kind of blows my mind, I also eventually sort of just did it. I was like, it felt like the right thing to do, so I did it. But the tragedy is that when I did it, I got enthusiastic, about doing a tedious maintenance task. And then I got a little bit dubious because I kind of wasn't sure if I'd done it the right way. And it was a long time ago, and it was on a different machine. And tragically, at this moment in time, it being Sunday, July 12th at 6:14 a.m., this sincere and honest audio blogavist podcast host personality cannot guarantee you that all of those old school episodes that I'd made when I very first, like the 50-minute episodes when I first logged on, first got my account on Sprecher, whatever, 3.5 years ago, or 3.2 months ago, whenever the fuck I started it. I know it says 3 years plus some time on the account somewhere. And I don't know if it calculates for these or because I deleted them as shows, if it just like got rid of all those analytics. But I had the test series of shows. I made several 15-minute long segments. And I realized very early on that I had a propensity for rambling and I would just get cut off. And then I got kind of savvy with it and I was doing the 3 or 4 different shows at once. And so there was all that content that when I deleted the shows, for at least one of the different titles, I couldn't remember if I downloaded all the episodes first or not. And I was like, oh shit, did I just delete all those and never download them because I'm exhausted and stupid? And I might have. And I don't remember which one it was. And other ones, I may or may not have successfully transferred all the way up to this current desktop. And some of them may be scattered in between my various devices that I've had since then, but are no longer, I could have just left them up, right? I could have just left the shows up there and focused on one of them and made it the main one that I talked to and then teased out and then made, which is what I want to do now. Like, you'll see that I do have multiple shows up. If you go to the main profile at Sprecher.com /Mr. Zeppo, you'll see that I have multiple shows. And it's because after doing it monolithically, mono-singularly, mono-episodically, monotitularly, that sounds horrible. That's not what it sounds like. Titular, as in of being of a title, I believe is the correct usage of that word. I could be wrong. Titillating, on the other hand, is to be evocative. It has nothing to do with anything else. Sometimes I don't even know if I approve of my own sense of humor because my mouth will say things and I'm like, why am I saying that? My point is, I apologize to you, but that's a fun, awkward fact about the origins of this show and why now, if you scroll to the beginning of the Almost Daily Zencast, it doesn't feel like it makes much sense at first until you sort of get past what was sort of technically for a while season 1. For a while there, I had the long singular monofilament of episodes, long and short, ordered as episodes series, seasons 1, 2, and 3, and then I undid that as well. So, moving forward into the future, there will be, hopefully, if I ever do get around to being able to hire a staff person or 3, we'll be producing multiple shows under different names, and some of them will be radio fiction, like Theater of the Mind, where it isn't me just rambling. It'll be characters and sound effects and a script and like a little movie, but without the production value of filming things, right? Oldie time, only because I love that kind of shit. And another series will be a legitimate hopefully, knock on wood, I do get to do this because I'm speaking it into existence. A serious meditation class taught by myself and others, because I do have opinions in that department, and I have listened to a lot of people's product, and I have meditated with and without the help of guided meditations and et cetera, et cetera. And for want of a better term, I feel called to do it, regardless if I do or do not deserve the entitled position of being able to do it, for as long as I can, because I consider myself an artist. And, I sort of, if people were out there prepping for the end of the world with, guns and ammo, I was prepping for the end of the world with the ability to do this for about 1.5 years without it costing me any more money. Hopefully maybe 2 if I get away with it. And here we are, right? Like, I'm hopefully that investment will become a line of income that helps me create my own production company, etc. And that my investment might invoke the investment of others, hopefully. To that end, sometimes I'll just play role play, right? Like I'll proof of concept it. And one of the things I did today to wrap up this recording was that I sat down and I was having that panicky fear of like, oh shit, I don't even know what I'm going to talk about. And I said, put on some meditation music and hit record. And if something comes out, you've got a little draft episode that you can just drop. And if nothing comes out, then you just stop recording, and et cetera, et cetera. So proof of concept there. To that end, as if I had sponsorship from Insight Timer, which I legally do not, I do not mean to infer that I do, consider this a pitch, Insight Timer, and nothing else. Although I don't want to get sued for solicitation or whatever. Just trying to host a show. I humbly invite you, whoever may or may not be listening to this in the not too distant future, to join me in a brief meditation of just opening our hearts. Because whatever beams we have in our eyes, whatever flaws we have in our hearts, whatever sins we've committed in our glass houses of hypocrisy, most of us, and to some people's disgust and chagrin, according to some interpretations of, Gnostic and other forms of alternative mystical interpretations of the basic things we know as organized religion, but rather without the organizations, right, would invoke the notion that it's all of us or none of us, and that includes people like Donald Trump and those who are worse. And that if we all flood the system of our minds, of our hearts, of our energy networks, of our chakras, think of it as iterative systems of systems that are organic to the universe that we may or may not be well read up on or well instructed in, but that if we reinvestigate them personally and attest to it and create public discourse, we could spawn a genuine, authentic science of it, right? That's the pitch. And I think, history and the movements of people and the confluence of coincidences are working towards that sort of thing. Through memes and cultural expression. Thus, my friends, as a rehearsal into bootstrapping it into existence, I humbly invite you to, if you've got Insight Timer, add this to my bookmarks. It's called The Opening by a Beautiful Chorus. It's a 1-minute vocal performance that is truly contemplative and powerful and simple and slows down time for a minute if you let it. If you breathe into it and maybe sing along with it or just immerse yourself in its sound. And what I like to do is play it like 3 times, because things in threes make sense to me, and it's just short enough that it's a beautiful, simple 3-minute meditation. But I'll only do it for 1 minute because I'm not 100% on the audio quality. But here we go. Just a deep breath and a slow exhale, longer than the intake. And another one. And a slow exhale, longer than the intake. And then a natural rhythm of breath. And listen and feel it. Namaste, friends and listeners. Thank you for joining me for an impromptu, underground, rebel, behind the scenes take on today's Nugget of Zen, a special segment of Good Morning Trumptopia, a production of the Almost Daily Zencast, created by Collaborative Theater Artist Group Studio. And as always, may peace, love, and grooviness blossom in your heart. Hang in there, stay strong, stay healthy, stay sane, stay full of gratitude for whatever your situation is. If you're lucky enough to be listening to this and you got a roof over your head and the internet, make the most of it. Don't waste your time on that, filling your heart with hate. Spend your time with those tools, sowing the seeds of love, healing, forgiveness, transformation.